What up, what up? Welcome to the Mic Check Podcast. This is T Word checking in with you live on this Tuesday morning. Trying to get this thing popping on a regular basis. Hopefully, y'all can hear me real good. If you're out there watching, go ahead and tap in the comments and let me know that the mic is good. And we're going to get this thing started real easy. So, today we're going to talk a little bit about sports. We're going to see what's good out there. Talk about a little bit of football, a little bit of boxing. I don't know how long we're gonna go, but we'll get this thing going. See what we can do. Probably want to get some everyday lives. So if you're out there and you're listening, or if you're watching this on the replay, try to tune in. I think I want to set up 9:30, 9:30, 9:45, Monday through Friday, something like that. Not really sure I want to commit to weekend streams just yet, but we'll see how it goes. So college football playoff championship game. That was not what we expected. It's crazy, man. Um, I don't know how TCU got in there and just got destroyed like that. It don't even make sense to lose that bad. Like Georgia went out there and set records. That's crazy. Feel free to drop your comments. Link is pinned to the comment section if you want to jump in on the panel. We pretty much talk about anything sports related. Um, we had a great boxing card over the weekend. There's some other boxing news going down, some potential fights coming up. Some have started to get some steam. Some are kind of just waiting in the background, for other things to happen. That's how boxing goes. So unlike every other sport, boxing can be held up by a couple of different elements, including other. One fight can hold up another, or several, as indicated by the PBC Showtime Fox schedule at the end of 2022, mostly the PBC Showtime side. Fox actually got a good card off with Deontay Wilder and Robert Helenius, but the better fight was actually Caleb Plant versus Anthony Brill. So, you know, sometimes that happens in sport. Hopefully this year they won't have those same problems in boxing and things will be better because it will be much more beneficial to have um, active fighters all year. And we already kind of started off on the wrong foot with fighters being hurt to start the year. El Spence, Jamel Charlo, Emanta Stanionis. That was far beyond his control. I mean, I guess all of them are beyond their control, but I mean, you can't control when your appendix is going to rupture, right? And he had to have emergency surgery, so that tells you, it's pretty serious. Um, but I don't know, man. we'll see how the rest of this year plays out. Like I said, we got off to a good start with the card on January 7th. Just gonna give people a little opportunity to kind of file in, see who's coming to show, check out some of the sports talk. Otherwise, I'll just sit here and just chop it up on my own until 10 o'clock and call it a day. So I guess something that can be discussed is the a video my boys over at AM Sports Media, the Angry Man podcast, posted. If you aren't already subscribed to them, but you subscribe, let's go check them out. They've got a lot of content popping out on a regular basis. Greg and Jason are doing a really good job of creating conversations around the sport of boxing specifically. And they're like a sister channel to us. So definitely check them out. Check out their content. They've got plenty of videos. They've been around much longer than this branch of the family has been. So they've got a lot more over there. They go way back at least a year. So definitely subscribe to them, like some of the videos, share it with some friends. But they have a topic that they brought up today, and the video is about who's the biggest pay-per-view star in boxing and who's the biggest star in boxing. So you could kind of separate the two things, but in reality, are they really two separate things? Because if you're the biggest star in boxing, you likely sell well on pay-per-view, right? So the three people in question were Gervonta Davis, Errol Spence, and Canelo Alvarez. Now, Canelo is the pay-per-view king, hands down. Since Floyd Mayweather retired, nobody has come close to what Canelo does. But when you look at the landscape, Canelo is only, 32? Errol Spence is 32. But these guys are kind of aging out of the spotlight. And Tank Davis is late 20s, 28 years old. He's kind of stepping into the spotlight and blossoming as a draw. He sells out arenas across the country, not just in his home. He's pulling in pretty good pay-per-view numbers. The only one that didn't do good that I could recall was against Pitbull Cruz #1. It was a late replacement, unknown replacement. Nobody knew about Pitbull really before they fought. And then I think that one only did like 75K. And that was like right before Christmas, if I'm not mistaken. So that's actually pretty good right before Christmas at like $75 because that card wasn't good either. So when you think about the dynamics of that, that's all on the back of Tank alone. Now, this particular card that he just had last weekend was kind of stacked with name brand fighters, known fighters that could headline their own events, not necessarily pay-per-view, but you could have made Demetrius Andrade a main event on the regular Showtime card on that Saturday, regular TV, of course. You could have made Rashidi Ellis a main event. Same thing with Jerron Ennis. He should already have been a main event on a regular card before they put him on pay-per-view, but we know what the goal is. They stacked the deck. They put together fighters that were from the general DMV, Philly area, New York, and they put them all on one card for a reason. It's cheaper. Even their opponents, mostly, besides the guys that were in mandatory type situations or title fights, they were all relatively local. This is all by design, obviously, from a budget standpoint. PBC and Showtime figured out they could put together an exceptional roster without overextending on the spending. I think it worked. I'm going to go ahead and try and take a look at what the early pay-per-view numbers are. I mean, it's only Tuesday, so we may not have anything. But let's just see. Let's see. Davis, Garcia, pay-per-view. Let's take a look. right, so far. mm, So far, nothing is up. So we don't know what they brought in. We don't know what the pay-per-view look like so far. But I could tell you that Tank had a $1 million purse. Hector got a $500,000 purse. And the split was 70-30 favor of Tank. According to Totals Portal, and these are estimates, I assume. Um, let's see, it's saying if the pay-per-view sales cross the mark of 700K on fight day in the UK and the US, Tank could get up to 3.5 million. Well, I'm sorry, 2.5 million off the paper. So it's actually pretty good. And then Hector was going to get a 500K bonus. And that's crazy. And then they made like 3 million off the gate. Them tickets was just insane. So I don't know. Chicken Talk, what up though? Just sitting here thinking about pay-per-view stars, I guess you could say, in boxing right now, or just stars in general. And so far, my boys at the Angry Man podcast, they put out a video discussing it, and I want to follow up on it with my opinion and trying to figure out who's next after Canelo, because he's going to give up that mantle really soon. There's not enough marquee fights that he's probably going to take that'll get him there. So in my opinion, Canelo's probably going to lose that spotlight, and it's a matter of who's going to take it. Now, while I do favor Errol Spence as a draw, I don't think that he's a bigger draw than Tank, and I think that Tank is about to take that spot like in the near future. If he can't take it by the end of this year with a couple marquee fights, because the Ryan fight might be the one. But if it's not that one, then it's possibly um, going to be Tank versus Haney or Tank versus Shakur by the end of the year. Could definitely take the spot. Takes Run Boxing was at it. Facts, bro. I just I don't see I don't see where Spence can hold Tank off, because once he fights Crawford, the only other fights that will bring him ridiculous pay-per-view numbers would be against Jermell Charlo, right? So if he fights Jermell, then he could get that money, right? He's going to be able to put up 500,000 sales, because they're going to be able to sell the brotherhood rivalry. What's Derrick James going to do? Like, there's so many elements that you could sell if you put him against Charlo after Bud. And in fact, I kind of feel like that might even sell better than a fight versus Bud at this point. Yeah, that's the only one that's going to outsell anything else Spence can do is Spence versus Canelo. That's going to do real numbers. But I want that fight at like, Canelo got to come down to 160 at least. I wouldn't want that 162, 164, none of that bull crap. He got to do that 160. Because otherwise he's just trying to blow Spence up. And even though he's a bigger guy, I think if you were to get that fight, let's say in 2024, I still favor Spence, because I just don't think Canelo. I think he's lost so much. He's a flat-footed plotter, and while Spence will stand in front of him and fight, I think his defensive responsibility will keep him from catching all those big shots that Canelo loads up on. And Spence's work rate alone, as long as he doesn't get knocked out, will help him win that fight in that decision. But yeah, he definitely need to look at that. But even then, how long can you keep Tank off you? That's the biggest fight. Yeah, man. Like, who can Canelo really fight that people are gonna want to see? Because if it's Charlo, Big Charlo, I'm not real keen on that fight. The only other really big pay-per-view fight for Canelo is Benavidez. What y'all think about that one? Canelo versus Benavidez pay-per-view sales versus Canelo versus Spence pay-per-view sales. Now, obviously, you're kind of splitting one fan base in one matchup, and then you're bringing in two fan bases in another matchup. But I still could see those selling equally. I don't know what y'all thoughts. Because like I think okay, but I got the link pin, so whenever you just tap in, bro. But yeah, I feel like Benavidez has a little bit of crossover because, and I don't get into the whole race thing, but I think it's relevant to this particular conversation. Um, I think Benavidez has his fair share of African American fans, so he taps into a different fan base that I don't think Canelo has a big share amongst African Americans like that. So you're actually getting like a fan base and a half coming over in that particular fight. But I think you put Canelo against Spence, I think you're getting two separate fan bases. And you've got the people who just that are going to watch because they dislike Canelo, and then you got the people that really like Spence that are going to watch Canelo versus Mel Charlo. Wait, you talking about the undisputed, or do you mean Big Charlo Mall? Like I don't think a lot of people give Mel Charlo a good shot. Man, that's a good point to discuss because I don't know that a lot of people would give Mel a big chance in that fight. But I would like to see it. I mean, imagine Canelo fighting both Charlos, one back to back. Like, hey, you fight the little brother, the smaller brother, and then the slightly older brother. That would be funny. But what weight are you gonna get? Like, you could get Maul at 168, but you got to get Mel at like 162 or something. The catch weights Canelo been trying to do. He on that Floyd Mayweather. But I haven't really given that fight much thought, but I feel like a lot of people just would favor him. I don't know, man. That'd be an interesting dynamic to play on. Like, how do you how do you set that up? I think because obviously you're not fighting for any belts. So how do you sell that? I think that's what's going to dictate if you can make that fight. 164 catch weight. Mm, yeah, but so from a marketing standpoint, how do you get the numbers? Because if they're not fighting for any titles at all, because Mel is at 154, so he coming up 10 pounds, Canelo's coming down 4 pounds. There's nothing at stake besides I'm fighting the smaller brother. I think it actually works against Canelo because they're gonna be like, well, why you fighting Mel? Like I get it, he's undisputed, but why you fighting a smaller brother when it's a dude that's by that point I would say Big Charlo will probably be in his weight class already. But I mean, I'm all about interesting and great fantasy fights. So I still would like to see it because I think there's a certain skill set that Mel brings that Maul has neglected. And then you bring in Derek James, and that's big. I mean, you box, so you already get it right. Like you know how important your coach is. You know how important it is to get that extra set of eyes in your corner to tell you like this is what I'm seeing from afar. You're in the fire, so maybe you're missing it. So I think that that's what makes that match a little bit more intriguing. I just I would like to see Big Charlo against Canelo with Derrick James in his corner instead of Shields. That might be the move. And then you could do it at 168 and make it for belts. And I think that sells more. You know, championship fights sell more. You're trying to hustle the business, huh, bro? That you can trick the casuals. They get the big stuff all the time. That's facts. That's facts. They don't even realize that they fight in two different weight classes. They just know that one got a whole bunch of belts already. So But even if you put like Canelo against one of the Charlos, I think Spence against Mel is the better fight. Number one, it's better in the ring and it's better on paper. So, in my opinion, that works. But I would like to see all the fights. So, while we're talking about Canelo and pay per view opportunities, so you've got Benavidez. I mean, is it reasonable for? Hold on one second, guys. All right, all right. Sorry about that. Neighbors had some horns going crazy. They don't want to blow y'all ears out with that noise. But yeah, I think you can trick the casuals because they don't know them apart. But if you start talking about other fights that Canelo can do, I would say Benavidez is pay per view. Andre, now that he's with PBC, you can't really go do it on his own, which is where Canelo's been working. I don't know. Um, you would have to put Canelo an offer out there that gives him Andre, Spence, Benavidez, one of the Charlos. Like you got to get him into like a major deal, right? Like several fights, and now you're talking about giving Canelo like $100 million or something like that. Like that will be an insane amount of money, but that's the only way you're gonna get him over there. But you do have more. You got more things in the coffer to offer him because you could put Andrade, Big Charlo, Benavidez, a rematch with Plant if you wanted it, and Spence in there. Like you've got so many different pieces to where you could put together a 3 or 4 fight deal. So I don't know. Like if you had let's say 120 million to give to Canelo, which 3 guys would you put in the deal? How would y'all maneuver that? And for anybody that's just joining, if you're interested in jumping on the panel and getting a conversation without having to type, feel free to go ahead and click the link that's pinned to the top of the comment section. It's open panel today, kind of open discussion. We don't have anything specific that we want to talk about. It's open. We're on boxing right now. So if you want to talk, feel free to jump in. Right now, we're talking about Canelo and Tank and Spence and who has the highest pay per view. Now, this is everybody outside the heavyweight division. Obviously, if you could get one American heavyweight champion, typically that particular person will find a way to outsell everybody else because heavyweight is kind of like the glamour division in terms of it's the glamour division in terms of marketability. The question was if you had, let's say, 100 million or 120 million to set up a deal to bring in Canelo Alvarez, and you have your PBC, you have Benavidez, Andrade, Caleb Plant, Big Charlo, and Earl Spence to offer, and we could throw Mel in there too. Which which 3 people would you put in that offer? Because you're going to get your money back, but you got to get it. You got to get Canelo to fight 3 times in 18 months. Like you got to get him in there every 6 months against those guys because that's the only way. So let's say between now, because I think by the end of 2024, I see a steep decline from Canelo because the competition that's coming up is just going to be too much. Like you got guys like David Morrell. That's not a good matchup for Canelo at all. So I wouldn't even put him in the package because he ain't going to take it. That's too dangerous of a fight, no matter how much money it is, where he feels like he could get a lighter touch with somebody like Spence versus Morrell, who's going to put him in a war. So I don't know if you had that budget, which 3 fighters would you put into the package to entice Canelo to come to PBC Showtime? All right, let me see. You say combination over here. I'll put it on the screen in a second. So you said Andrade, Big Charlo, Big Charlo, and Spence in that order. So Spence is last, so you have him fight at 168, and then down to 164, basically as a catch weight. That's how you order it. I mean, so you got 2 dudes who've been begging to fight him, and then you got a dude who's basically being thrown in there. See, I will probably see it backwards, and I will maybe build it. I would say Spence, I would reward Big Charlo as long as he's healthy with Andre on standby. And then I would actually put Benavidez in there. Mainly because Spence ain't really been calling for Canelo. He just said he willing to fight him. So that's kind of like your appetizer. And in a way, it's almost as if you're sacrificing a highly marketable fighter just to get the interest up. And the entire broadcast and entire build-up, you're talking about the 3-fight deal. So you're letting everybody know this is just the appetizer. We got a main course coming, and that's Big Charlo. And the only reason I picked Charlo over Andrade is because he's been with PBC longer. So I feel like you reward the guy that's been there. However, you let Andrade know, hey, if Charlo comes up lame again because he's got this thing where he keeps getting hurt, you're next. Be on deck, and we'll put you in there with Canelo and give him a chance at the payday. And then finally, you put him in there with Benavidez, but you've given Canelo enough fights that he probably determines are easy enough to where it's worth the cash out. All right, let's see. We got Lefty. Lefty, what up? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you kind of low. I can hear you though.
You can hear me. Hold on. I turned my mic down because I don't want to blow people out. Is that better now? More clear?
Yeah, that's a little better.
Okay, what's good with you, fam?
I'm just out here getting some breakfast. Listening to the show as a
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what this live schedule is going to look like. So trying to find a time where I can, get a good audience, get some people. It ain't nothing like them spaces though. The spaces is lit.
Yeah, because you that's where everybody at. You ain't gotta lead the app in order to watch it or listen to it. But we was wilding on there last night.
Man, I didn't even realize it because I sure would have checked it out. Last time I got in there, my phone was crashing, so I don't know what's up with that. So I was talking to, I was putting this out there. I don't know if you got to hear it before you jumped on, but we're talking about if you had, let's say, 120 million. I can't remember the offer that was given to Canelo, but if you're PBC and you have 120 million, what 3 fighters would you put into that offer, considering you have Spence, Andrade, Big Charlo, Benavidez, Plant again, and then let's say you put Mel in there to catch weight somehow. Which 3 guys would you pick to put in that offer and what order?
You said Spence, Benavidez, and Mel, the 3 that the 3 that they offered originally.
Oh, okay. You would keep it that way?
Those are the 3 I would go with. Yeah.
What was the numbers on that? Because I don't remember.
I don't remember the numbers either. But I would go Maul, then I would go Spence, then probably Benavidez.
Okay. Okay. All right. We got Texas.
That's me, because personally, I think Maul is the easiest fighter of the 3, to be honest with you.
Wow.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. What's good with you, fam?
What's up, y'all?
So Texas Run Boxing, he said he's got Andrade, Big Charlo, and Spence, and that's his order. So from a selling standpoint, I think that's a great order because Spence is going to sell the most. But I don't know. I don't know about Andrade in there. My order was this. I said you give him Spence first, then you have Big Charlo because of loyalty with PBC, and if he happens to be hurt or whatever, you have Andrade as a backup, and you put Benavidez in there as the final. The issue is, would Canelo take that for that amount of money?
I don't know. See, my only issue with this is if you offer him a deal like that, that means we're not gonna get Andrade versus Benavidez, or we're not gonna get Andrade versus Charlo, or Charlo versus Benavidez. You know, that's why I don't like that deal. I would rather see those guys fight, honestly.
Yeah,
Okay, I understand that.
and to keep the division moving, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, I would offer him Spence at 164. The reason I say that because Spence, he missed out on the Pacquiao fight because of the injury. Then he missed out on the Crawford fight. So I mean, he still needs to be delivered a big fight, and that's really the biggest fight out there for him.
Yeah. Or, well, do you think that Spence versus Mel is equally as big?
No. There's no fight out there anywhere close to a Spence versus Canelo fight.
I don't think they'd ever fight.
Based on what?
Spence would be willing to fight, but I don't think Mel would be willing to fight him. Not because he's scared, but because the brotherhood or whatever. Like he's very, very loyal to his people or whatever. So he look at Spence as a brother, so he's not gonna actually fight him.
So
I think he'll fight him for the money.
Yeah.
I think because he knows the Spence fight is bigger than the Benavidez fight and a Charlo fight.
If they throw him an outrageous amount of money, of course, he got to feed his family. But if it's just like he could just make more money doing what he's been doing, I don't think he'd take it.
Yeah. And he'll probably look at that as a winnable fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
And
I think
it ain't nobody. Okay, so if you take away from the PBC side, who do you want to see him fight again? I don't care for the Bivol fight again. I don't think he's not going to beat Bivol at 168 or 175.
Yeah.
I definitely don't fight, which is whatever, I don't move the needle.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't have a long list of people I want to see Canelo fight. And obviously, they're all at PBC. I don't see anybody else I want him in the ring with that's worth it. This is my thing with Canelo, though. You got to get him the marquee fights by the end of 2024. I don't know what's going to be left there. I don't even see what's left in the tank right now to be that viable with Canelo, unless it's a tailor-made opponent. So by the end of 2024, I really don't see anybody that he can beat at that point that's in a weight class because they have less wear and tear. Like, it's not even because of his age, like the number, it's his ring age that kills me, that makes me think that he doesn't have a lot of good matchups over the next couple of years. And that
he's old. He's old in the ring. He's definitely old in the ring. He has a lot of rounds under his belt.
Yeah. So that would be
is Lara at
questionable
68?
for me. That's a rematch, though, ain't it?
Yeah, I was about to say, you don't think that'd be intriguing because people, it was kind of
Lara
controversial.
He's more washed. He's washed. He ain't got his legs no more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying because a lot of people said it was controversial, so maybe he might do like the Floyd thing, rematch him or whatever. But it's not back to back, so
that window is so short on controversial decisions that you got to get it while it's hot, because if you allow both fighters to go and do other things and their luster falls off, you have a hard time getting people to get excited about that. And if you're going to put it on pay-per-view, because when are you going to watch Canelo not on pay-per-view, then you have to make it viable. One of the biggest things that people complain about is this actually pay-per-view matchup. And he ain't fighting nowhere else besides pay-per-view. So
true. Yeah, he don't want to fight none of the good pay-per-view matchups. So
Canelo is in a nice position with the zone where he's able to make good money without having to worry about selling too many pay-per-views. Whereas if he was this was the old HBO days, or even if it's a Showtime day, your opponent really matters because in order to make that pay-per-view revenue.
Yeah, they pay what you way back in the day, but now they start throwing out that money. And that's a whole other conversation I would throw out there one day is how can boxing reset the pay scale? Because the NFL had to do it, and I get it, that's a league, but if all the promoters figure out we have to set a pay scale, I think you could get it back in order to where true pay-per-views will become a thing and the networks won't feel so compelled to put so much on pay-per-view. But I do want to kind of keep digging in on what we got going on. So we already know what you can do with Canelo, right? So now let's talk about Spence, because the initial conversation I put out was in order. I have Canelo, Spence, and Tank as the biggest American stars right now, and I have Tank passing Errol real soon. So that
No,
being
he's
said,
already past Earl.
Yeah,
He's
he
already
passed Earl
past
already.
so from
Earl. He's a good seller in Texas and
true,
LA. He's done good in Texas, LA. Tank does good in New York, DC. Anywhere you put him, he's going to do good.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and
Also,
that's
the difference in ticket price too. Like Spence,
yeah,
tickets are more affordable than Tank.
because Canelo, like say that fight at Texas Stadium at AT&T Stadium, that was 40,000 people in there, and
mm-hmm,
Spence did a gate of 5 million.
yeah,
Tank is doing a gate of 5 million with 18,000 people, so his
yeah,
tickets are way more expensive.
yeah, definitely. The average ticket price, because I was looking at the Spence fight, like that fight was like a few hours from the crib, and I was looking at the tickets, and like you can get in the building for like $1. And I think on the high end they still weren't that bad. Obviously, down in the lower bowl, it's a different price. But it was definitely affordable to get in that fight. And then I looked at what the
Yeah,
numbers was
very
for that
affordable.
Tank last fight, and I'm like, bruh, now you're looking at like a nice little bill you about to drop out for that. So there's definitely some difference there.
Tank is a lot closer to Canelo than people realize. Like when he had his
Mm-hmm.
fight in New York, he actually had better gate numbers than Canelo in New York. And then
Wow.
if you look at this DC gate, I mean, it's hard outside of Vegas. It's hard to do a 3 million plus gate outside of Vegas. It's hard.
Yeah.
So Tank is consistently doing that in every arena that he goes to. He's doing 5 million plus his last 2 or 3 fights. So
Yeah. He put them out.
it's hard. And you look at like the Canelo Bivol fight in Vegas, they didn't even clear. I think they ended up clearing like 8 or 9 million in Vegas.
Wow. And them tickets are
So
crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Tank is a lot closer to Canelo than people realize. And after this Ryan Garcia fight, then I think Tank is going to take the number 1 spot. Now, can he hold it? I'm not sure, but he's going to take the number 1 spot with this Ryan Garcia fight.
And that's a big problem too, because now he's gonna run out of marketable dance partners. Like Ryan is a marketable dance partner. Um, Devin doesn't have that star power like that. He's known, but he don't have star. Shakur needs to cook at 135 in order to get it, and they need to build that matchup. So one of them got to go get all the belts first to make that more. Because if they're not fighting championships, I don't know that the casual people care about Tank versus Shakur either.
I know Tank, even now, he really hasn't had marketable dance partners. In order to consistently get the numbers he's going to do with Ryan, yeah, he needs marketable dance partners. But with a Devin or even with a Shakur, he can do better numbers than he's doing currently. It won't be the Ryan versus Ryan type numbers, but they'll be better numbers than he's doing currently, which is, he could always, for some reason with Tank, you throw anybody in there, he's going to hit his number.
Yeah.
But Devin and Tank, he will do a higher number. And then you even got like Frank Martin coming up.
Right.
He got some people waiting in the wings. You can always revisit that. If he's serious, the fucking Gary Russell Jr. fight. If Gary Russell is serious.
Yeah, and Gary will help sell the fight too.
I think if they market Frank Martin the right way, that might be Tank's biggest future fight.
Oh yeah.
Because he got the push from Earl and everything, and then also that might be his most competitive fight, because that's another athlete, another guy with power, can also hit Tank with angles. Probably has better footwork than Tank.
I think he has better footwork and less power, so there's a good offset there. So I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think he needs to. I want to see Frank Martin versus Pitbull Cruz.
Yeah.
And then the winner fight Tank later on in the year. It's not gonna happen for some reason. Pitbull don't want to fight nobody.
You know what's a good way to build up Martin versus Tank Davis? Have him do what Pacquiao did. I hate calling people leftovers because they still viable fighters. Have him go on the Tank Davis skit and go catch some of his previous opponents that's willing to get in the ring with him at around 135 and see how he looks against them. Because as long as he looks as good and gets a couple of knockouts or whatever, people are going to start to make those parallels on their own. You don't even have to push that narrative. It's actually going to be there.
Yeah.
So I think that might be a good way.
Like Riley or Pitbull, if you could get either one in the ring.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Pitbull versus Frank Martin on the Earl Spence undercard would be a firefight. Because when at the Earl Spence fight in Texas, Pitbull had, outside of Earl Spence, Pitbull had the loudest reception.
Yeah. And he put on a really good fight because everybody was in there by that time because they didn't want to miss the main event. And he put on a good show too. So yeah, you know, you kind of, if you move Frank that way, like don't put him in there with Tank like right now or within the next, let's say 12 months. I say it's gonna take 2 years. Like it might be 2025, but that'll be something that you could wrap up Tank because he's talking about getting up out of there once he get Devin in him anyway. But if he can't get that fight, then you could be building Frank in the background to be something good that'd be a really good dance partner. And then you have those stylistic similarities, and then you also have the differences that'll make it a good fight too. I saw somebody saying they think that Frank is like the only person that could beat him. I'm like, I don't know about that. That he could definitely give him a hell of a fight.
True. From what I heard from their sparring session, and that was when Frank barely had like any experience. He gave Tank really good work. He was able to match him with the explosiveness and oh my bad, I'm checking on my kid. He was able to match him, you know, with athleticism and everything like that, and also you know, keep up with him as far as like IQ. So different people in the gym, his Tank coaches and everything was giving a glowing review for Frank Martin. So I can only imagine what he'll do with more experience. I don't know if he can beat him because we still have to see if he can hold up to the power. That's always the question with Tank. But it'll be a damn good fight.
Yeah, I think Frank can show him some things, you know, athletic wise that nobody else out there can show Tank, you know, outside of Shakur. But I was still heavily taking Tank in that fight.
And then also Frank has another you know, trick up his sleeve, Derrick James. They gonna come with a game plan for Tank. So all that starting slow that Tank does, he gonna have to pick that up because they'll eat those rounds up.
True. Now, did y'all get to see the fight on Saturday? Y'all both saw it, right?
Yeah, I saw it.
I watched it.
Okay, so I don't think Tank started slow on Saturday. I thought he was at the right pace like the first round, no matter who's in there. See now, I think the second round he was looking for where he could pick some shots, looking for some tendencies, but he still was being a little bit offensive and I thought he started much faster against Hector than against Rolly, and I think it had a lot to do with the fact that he wasn't worried about Hector's power as much as he was worried about Rolly's power. So I don't think he started slow in that fight. I don't know if that's something he's gonna do going forward. Like maybe against Ryan, he might start a little slower because he's gonna be a little hesitant to power. And once he get hit, like you said, if he can get hit and walk through it and then he can tell you, it's gonna pop it from there. What y'all think?
It's breaking up. Is it breaking up for you, Texas?
Yeah, it's breaking. I was worried that my connection was bad, but yeah, it's breaking up.
It might be my side. My internet might be.
But I kind of heard your question a little bit. I don't think it was more so Hector's power. I think it was more so Hector's slow as shit. So he didn't really have to worry about like a lot of things. He could pretty much see all Hector's punches. But yeah, he did start faster. So I did like that from him. And from the scorecards, he was winning every round pretty much.
Yeah, I didn't think he was winning every round, but I didn't see him out of he was in control of the whole fight.
Yeah.
I didn't
I
see
think I
any
had
point in the
said
fight
like
where I was worried for him.
I think I had like 6-2 Tank. And I think I gave Hector the second round because it was kind of a swing round. And I think I might have gave him the third or fourth. I think I gave him the fourth. And then from there it felt like Tank was just cruising. Like I saw him landing clean shots, changing the angles, using the levels, and exploiting the holes in Hector's defense. Like he started baiting him into throwing punches and leaving himself exposed. And Tank was landing that overhand. And it was kind of a wrap from there. I just started thinking like, man, it's just a matter of time. Is it still breaking up?
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. I wouldn't. There was no point in that fight where I thought Tank was in trouble. I don't know. He looked sharp, man. He looked very sharp. I was hoping he wasn't overlooking this fight. Looking forward to the Ryan fight, but he looked very sharp.
And on the cool, I think that little situation that many thought was a distraction, I think that might have locked him back in. Like he might have been a little like
I agree. I said the same thing.
Yeah, I think that might have got him locked in. Like, you know what? They out here trying to get me. I got to get mine while I can. And I think it got him back focused. And it's never a perfect time to get arrested. But I think it came at the perfect time in terms of getting him focused for a very big fight. And, you know, he was the headliner on a name brand card, the first fight of the year. So you got to come out there banging. And he delivered. You know, he didn't drop him necessarily, but he definitely put that boy lights out, literally. So since we on that particular card, I hadn't really talked to many people besides Q, my co-host, about the card itself, but he didn't get to see the fights. So interested to hear some other opinions on. We'll just work backwards. So Karen or Ron, however you say it, and Bruce, I want to get your thoughts on that one. And
Hey, it's breaking up bad, man. I don't know if it's just on my end still.
Yeah, I hear it. It's like you slowing down, speeding up, slowing down, speeding up.
Okay, I'm about to switch to my computer. Y'all stay on.
All right.
All right, is it better now?
Yeah, that's a lot better.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's better.
All right, so yeah, were y'all able to hear that last question?
No, you started off. You said something about Karen.
Oh yeah, so basically just get y'all thoughts on that particular fight. Karen and Boots. What was y'all analysis? What did y'all see? And I think this is what I'm really trying to get to. Y'all catching that echo?
Now your mic went low. Can you hear him, Texas?
Okay, I'm back now. Can y'all hear me now?
I can hear him now.
Okay, y'all good now? Okay, cool. Yeah, I was trying to switch up. Okay, so what I was getting at is in that particular fight. So this is what I wanted to get to specifically. So you got Rashidi Ellis and Boots were kind of having their conversation before the fight. At first, I thought that was going to be a mismatch, but after seeing what Boots struggled with against Karan, and then what Ellis was able to do footwork wise against Villa, I kind of see Boots versus Ellis as a better matchup now, based on what I saw from a style standpoint. So I wanted to get y'all's input on that.
You want to go first, Left, or me?
You go ahead first.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same. I think Rashidi's style will give Boots problems because of the speed, his athleticism, and his movement. Karen was like an elite mover, like being able to bounce on your toes like that for 12 rounds. That's insane. Like his calf muscles not tired, like nothing. But what was I say? And also the angles. Seeing that performance also made me think Keith Thurman. Who else? I think just those two come to mind right now. They'll give him problems. I don't think they'll beat him, but they'll give him a lot of problems.
What you think, Left?
Oh, I agree 110%. I've always thought Keith Thurman would give Boots problem. Because we've always seen Boots in there with somebody who was, stand in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing about Thurman is he can move and punch. Karen can move, but he couldn't punch. Thurman can move, punch, and throw at crazy angles.
Right.
Whereas Karen couldn't really get that off. Even though he really couldn't get it off, he was still having moderate success. The Rashidi fight, since Rashidi lost, I'm not really interested in no more. I want to see him fight like a Billy, whatever his name was. Because he's not a mover, so he's going to be there in front of Boots, but he can also throw back, and he's throwing back with some power. And Boots get hit a lot, man.
Yeah.
I've been saying it over and over and over again. He get hit a lot. Too much.
Karen hit him a lot.
Yeah, too much for that level of competition that he's facing. I understand all fighters get hit, but at a certain level, you can't get hit that much at a certain level.
Yeah. And that's kind of the thing that concerns me with Boots in there with Thurman, because the power's the last thing to go. And if you playing around and you can't cut the ring off and Keith is moving and he catch you with a nice clean hook while he's on the move, which you've seen him do, he don't really even have to sit down on a bunch of his shots. You saw Barrios' face after that fight. Boots ain't been hit like that.
No.
And Thurman has the experience to hit and get out of the way. Like, he has an exit strategy with his offense. And Boots hasn't really fought anybody that, like you said, wouldn't just stand in front of him and just take shots and just try to trade and win a tough man competition. Keith ain't about to stand there and go tough man with no young bull like that. He's almost 10 years older. He's going to try to move. I think that it would be a mistake to try and put him in there with Keith anytime soon. The tailor-made opponent for Boots right now would have been Ramon Villa, because he's going to stand there and trade, and he'll stand there and get caught. And I think that Karan would have been a good matchup for Ellis. Obviously, you can't just match people like that because they were in eliminators and in the interim title fight, but those would have been better stylistic matchups, probably better fights, more enjoyable fights to watch too. But I think if you put Ellis in there with Boots right now, like just based on their last two performances, I don't even know how that would go at this point, because I could see Ellis frustrating Boots by just getting out of the way. It's just he don't have the power to knock him out, that I could tell yet.
Yeah, and then also Boots got a gas tank. He ain't sit down like through the whole 12 rounds. He didn't sit down one time in between rounds. He wasn't breathing hard or anything, so that might be an issue as well. Since Rashidi get tired, he burned up a lot of energy in the early part of the rounds, trying to throw all those fancy combinations stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he definitely gassed out.
What I was about to say about Karen, I don't know why people were trying to write it off and say Karen was running. I was looking at a completely different fight. I saw a guy that understood he was outgunned, but he still had elite skills. Like when he was evading Boots, sometimes he would catch Boots at an angle and literally spin Boots around and make him look like a professional amateur.
Yep.
And Karen would pull his punches. He'll see the punch and then he'll stop because he didn't have confidence that he could actually hurt Boots. Thurman not doing that. He's stopping on a dime and catching Boots with something. And Boots was getting hit flush with something. I think it was the end of the fifth round. I seen Karen hit Boots with 3 straight right hands in a matter of like 30 seconds. And I was like, can't he? Wow. Okay.
I mean, but
He might
you
need
could
to
go
work on
back
that
to
defense a little bit.
he needs to work on that defense a lot. You go back and look at
He done
the
for the left
Delorme
hook
fight
too.
before he knocked out Delorme. Delorme hit him with 2 straight right hands. Lipinets was landing right hand all day. He runs into those right hands, man, and when he gets to that next level, it's not going to be nice.
So
He misjudges distance a lot. Like he whiffs on jabs.
Yeah,
Sometimes like I think he underestimated Karen so much. He would like walk in and try to walk Karen down, and Karen would throw a overhand right and just barely miss Boots, or he'll throw a left hook and just barely miss Boots. I think he might need to go back and tighten up on that defense a little bit.
he need to
It's a few
tighten on the
things he got to
defense a
work
lot.
on.
I asked somebody because I don't remember, but how many straights to the body did Boots throw?
you mean early or late? Because he started off stab jabbing, but then or stabbing to the body with it, like the 1-2 kind of to the body. But
Yeah.
after like the 4th round, that disappeared.
Okay.
Like I mean, I would have to look at it again to tell you for
Yeah.
sure. But he really didn't. He didn't invest to the body, and that's why that dude legs was fresh at the end of the fight. There's a reason that Spence dance partners always stop moving. You know, he beating them hips up. You know, he's stopping your legs literally from moving to where it almost hurts you to move. And Boots didn't do that, and it cost him because, I mean, Karan could have been knocked out, but he never slowed down because you never gave him a reason to. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing that I attribute Boots' issues with what looks like cutting off the ring, or just stalking people down. He switches too frequently to master the ability to cut the ring off in one direction or another. If I make you where you can only go one way, now, like if like, you know, I train southpaw, so you're not going to be able to go a certain direction, right? Because I'm proficient at that side. Now I could switch over and do some stuff orthodox, but it's mostly going to be southpaw stance. I'm not going to let you escape in a certain direction, so I'm going to be able to move you into certain punches and set you up to get caught with something. Boots don't have that because he's constantly switching back and forth, so it look cool, but I think from a efficiency standpoint, it doesn't get the job done. Do you all think that has something to do with it?
Yeah, I heard somebody say
Yeah, I can
they
see
said
that.
they put it perfectly. They said Boots isn't technical, he's fancy.
That is perfect.
I also think it's an issue with his IQ because you had brought up a point in a space a few days ago left where you said that he kept letting Karen go out the same exit route. So I went back and watched the fight, and he did. He let him escape out to the left the whole entire fight, and Karen would circle out and be in the middle of the ring. And Boots' adjustment for that wasn't cutting off the ring or stepping over with him to mirror him. He would literally grab Karen and clinch to bring him in close to him. And Bozy wasn't making any adjustments in between rounds to help him with that. So I think it's more so. It might be like a little arrogance with it, and then also Boots is so athletically gifted. They just think Boots get him out there on some Teofimo type stuff.
Yeah.
But I saw a couple flaws in his IQ as well.
Yeah.
He'll throw fancy combination, and Karen would evade all three shots, or he'll throw a 2-punch combination. Karen will evade that, be able to step around, makes Boots turn around. I saw a couple punches where he'll try to load up so much he'll be off balance. He'll be spinning around. So it's just a couple things he got to work on, but that's with every fighter.
Yeah, he looked flat-footed in that one to me. Like I never thought of him as like a flat-footed puncher, but he looked flat-footed against that particular opponent. And I get it, styles make fights. But another thing, as far as like what you were saying about him, you know, using the same escape route to get out, and then there not being a proper adjustments in the corner. If you were to compare, like there was a point in Tank's fight where Calvin Ford's in front of him, and he's like, "Look, you know he can't go this way, so just do this right here." And that's it. When you got that kind of coaching, sometimes that person who's standing outside the ring is definitely seeing something that you're in the fire. You just can't account for it. so that outside perspective, that third party view can tell you exactly what's there. Like, bro, I can see it. Just do this adjustment. Nothing, just like football or another sport where if somebody up in the booth can call down and say, hey, they're doing this. This is how we're going to adjust to that. You didn't see that with Boots. You just heard Bozy saying basically like, cut the ring off. It's like, okay, but how? Don't just tell me what to do. Like, give me at least a little piece of strategy, and I'll go from there. Everybody's not going to be Mayweather where they're seeing it all from inside the ring. You're going to need that second set of eyes to tell you what to do. Yeah. But if we could transition that to if you were to put Ellis and Ennis in the ring, let's say, because I think I want Ellis to try to get back against Villa. If you were to put them in the ring, let's say top of next year, like about a year from now, um, how do you project that fight to be as far as like just from a skill standpoint in the ring?
Are you asking if Rashidi has a chance against Boots?
Well, just kind of play both corners. Like, what would you do to be effective against Ellis if you're Boots, and then what? And then the opposite. What would you do to be effective as Ellis?
So if I was Rashidi or in Rashidi's corner,
Hmm.
well, number one, I think he needs somebody new in his corner, but that's another conversation. I would use some of the same movement that I used against Villa because I don't think Boots could take punches like Villa. Like that Villa big as shit. Like,
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, I'll use some of the same movement, work behind the jab. You can catch Boots in between switching, but he does switch a lot. But you can catch him in between switching because he squares up a little, like right when he first switches. Um, yeah, pace myself. Rashidi needs to work on pacing himself a lot. Um, if I'm Boots, I'm working to the body. I'm putting pressure on Rashidi, but I'm actually cutting off the ring this time.
Hmm.
Um, what else? What else? What else? I'm doubling up. I'm doubling up on my combinations.
Yeah.
Uh, what else? Stab jabbing. Rashidi does that a lot. He stab jabs a lot, but he don't like really sit down on his stab jab.
Yeah.
But I think that's all I can think of as of right now. I gotta go look at some more tape.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, Rashidi likes to tap, and it's just a rapid reaction, just based on what we saw the other night. Like if those two same fighters went into the ring, obviously they'll probably fight again by then, and then they're going to improve on some things, obviously, because they're going to have that tape. But based on what we saw Saturday, I would say if I'm Bozy, me and Boots are bringing in some dudes that move laterally really well, and then Boots are going to start. It's going to start doing more agility drills, like the ladder, where you're just moving back and forth, side to side, up and down the ladder, and just get that footwork back in tune because I feel like maybe he's gotten too comfortable with his ability to get guys out of there that he's been neglecting that in training. So he couldn't quickly recall on it because it's not muscle memory anymore. Um, that right there alone would slow Rashidi down. And then Boots is going to have to work on investing to the body because it's not something that he's been known to do. And he really showed that it's a glaring weakness when you get against a really mobile opponent. If I'm Ellis, I'm leaving snack. I got to find somebody else to help me with my conditioning because what I found with most of the snack dudes is what are they actually doing? Their strength and conditioning, they don't have power, and they all seem to kind of fade in fights. So it's like, what are you really going over there for? I mean, the dope that they pushing out ain't working. So I would definitely get better with my SNC and maybe get more comfortable taking a shot in order to get off a shot where he sits on his punches. Like you mentioned, Ellis don't sit down on his punches and it makes them less effective because he's trying to get too many off. Like he's trying to live up to that speedy name when in reality, you just need to be a better boxer. And I think it'll be more effective for him down the stretch.
I also think 147 is the wrong division for Rashidi. He
Where would
too
you put him? 140?
54 because he's a big dude.
He is.
So he all that muscle stuff like that. I think he'd be kind of cutting too much because at the weigh-ins he looks like small as shit. He looked skinny, but still with like his muscular frame. And then during the fight, he looked a lot bigger. But Villa was a lot bigger than him.
Yeah,
But I think, and then also his last fight was at like 53 or something like that.
yeah.
He got a couple fights around that.
He had a few. I think he had like 8 fights at 54, if I'm not mistaken. When I was looking through his resume, I think it was like 8 because he fought 10 times in 1 year. And he had
Damn.
a few. Yeah, he fought 10 times in 2014. Now that was obviously like 6 rounders and stuff, but or 8 rounders or whatever. But yeah, he was busy. And I think he fought like 4 or 5 times in another year. So he's really been busy. But that being said, he fought a good bit at 54 and he's come down to 47. Maybe 54 he'd be more comfortable. It's just if you ain't popping dudes at 47, what are you gonna do up there? Because them dudes have even better chance. They're used to taking even more heavy artillery, but that might be a better weight class for him in general.
I think he at the move to 54 because that 7 pounds is a big that's a big difference. Um, I think his power will actually be able to carry him because he got a little bit of power. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, he
but
KO'd the
I
last guy.
the snack observation. I haven't thought about that. That is true. A lot of their athletes do fade in fights, and they power don't care. Boo
Yeah,
Boo fades a lot. Devin Haney fades a lot. Who else?
Plant
Nike towards the end start fading a lot.
Plant
Um,
was Plant was a snack, I
oh yeah,
believe, at
Plant
one
too.
point. Yeah.
And
So
it's crazy because Plant like him and Haney train year round, and they phenomenal athletes. Like so, I don't understand that.
I mean, you probably know this though. You know, your road work is so important, and then how much time you spending with that jump rope because
Hmm.
that can really build your stamina. And like running doesn't really help you with, let's say, the punching aspect of things, but that jump rope does because it gives you that deep down muscle endurance and that stamina. Like we kind of have a little offhand conversation about this a little bit, but yeah, that's the thing that I think is so important. You got to get comfortable doing that road work. I mean, that's something that's always been an issue for Deontay Wilder was not doing the road work. But I think that those alternative measures for training in that snack program don't really give you the same effects as somebody who does a lot of road work. Yeah, so yeah, if you just look at that snack roster in like their upper echelon of snack people, and just think about the way that their performances have gone. You be like, dang, what are they doing wrong?
Yeah, I think Crawford might be the only person that they have that doesn't fade. But we ain't
it,
really seen nobody like have to push Crawford like that.
and he already Crawford's thing. I don't think he has like power like EJ power. He has that snap power. Like the
Hmm.
punches are so fast and from such an odd angle and so accurate. That's what makes him so dangerous. So he doesn't have that like in the gym, heavy lifting or anything like that. His is more a natural gift and his ability to place those punches properly. So it's kind of like Derrick James has been saying, when his athleticism fails, you're going to see a different version of Crawford that might not be as successful because a lot of what he does relies on his ability to be the first to the punch or just be more athletic than the other guy. He's not really been in the ring like that. Now, that's a good point you bring up. We can segue real quick. And we'll probably, I'm going to wrap it up at 10:40, so I'll wrap it up at 11. So we got a little time to cook if you got the time. But so
Yeah.
based on what you saw from Boots, um, what did you think Boots would look like against Crawford and Spence before this fight? And then tell me what you think he would look like now that you've seen this fight.
I always thought it would be a difficult fight, just based off the opponent
Hmm.
because I think Spence has tools that people don't know about because he like beating people up and he understands that a lot of people don't like being beat up. So he can just he can pretty much just bully you, walk you down, and you just use simple fundamentals to beat you and outwit you. He don't really have to dig too deep in his toolbox. And then Crawford as well. He has a lot more tools and experience, and that experience plays a big key because we see that well, not this fight. Let me go back to what was
For who,
I
Crawford or
can't
Boots?
listen for Boots.
His
Uh,
he had Custio Clayton before this one, and was it Lipinets before that?
yeah.
Okay,
So like I seen. Oh yeah, I can go back to the Lipians fight.
okay,
So you kind of saw Lipians is a smaller guy coming up,
hmm,
and Boots was sitting down throwing all he could on a lot of those punches. And while it did affect Lipinets, I would think you being as big as you are, you like that shit would just kind of stun him a little bit more. So that
yeah,
kind of had me looking at Booster's power, not questioning it, trying to devalue it and say, oh, he can't punch, but
right,
how fans over exaggerate people's power. I was looking at it a little bit, and then certain things as far as like his IQ and things. I've seen in fights where I'm like, if he gets hit by Crawford or Spence with that shot, that's a
yeah,
no go. How do you let a guy of this caliber um, run
tag you
you
like,
into that trap?
yeah,
Not even tag you like that, but run you into that trap.
got you.
So
Okay,
if you let one of them run you into the trap, that means it's a little question with your IQ. And then also on top of that, you say you don't watch tape, your trainers say they don't watch tape. So I don't know. You going against two of the best minds in boxing, three of the best minds in boxing. If you add Derek James with Spence, and then if you want to throw Bomac in, I give Bomac his credit as a trainer. So you're going up against that. So,
yeah,
but after the fight, well, I thought they were all 50-50
hmm,
before. I'll
okay,
probably edge more towards just out of respect for the champions and everything. I'll say 60-40.
yeah,
But after, I think it's a little less, probably about 65-35. But he still has a chance because he's an amazing talent.
yeah.
Um, and then I don't even think we've seen the best of him or the most of him, if I want to say that, like all his tools.
Oh, for sure. He still, we haven't seen everything in his tool bag either. I just think that we got a good look at several flaws from him. But we did see some things that didn't exist before, like him having that gas tank, being able to go 12, and he stood on his feet for 12 rounds. So
Hmm.
that's 36 minutes plus the 11 minutes in between. So that's like 45 minutes. This dude was just on his feet
Yeah,
in the ring, standing up
and
in
didn't
his
even take a
corner.
deep breath.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
he broke a sweat finally. He finally earned a paycheck. But I would say my opinion on what I thought of, I'm gonna break it up in two because I thought two different things. So I had Spence beating Boots before this fight because I felt like Boots' inside game has some flaws and he takes too many clean shots. And because he's willing to sit in there and trade, I've never seen him get out of the way when dudes are throwing heavy artillery at him and Errol's gonna throw some heat at you. You know, that hot shit is coming. So I would say I had it like at least 60-40 Spence way, right? So I'm very much like you, just specifically because Spence is going to make it a mid to inside fight. And I gave him an advantage and also the ring IQ. And I think his corner will outwit Bozy Ennis. For Crawford, I actually had it more 50-50. And I thought it was going to be depends on what version, how soon from now, and what version of Crawford shows up. Meaning, if Terrence Crawford is in his A plus bag, I thought that he was going to be able to get some shots and catch Boots with something slick, and it was going to be up to Boots' chin to keep him in the fight to where he could get his get back because I feel like they brought a lot of the same skill sets. The only difference is Crawford was going to switch between rounds, and Boots was going to switch throughout the round, getting different angles, which could work in his favor by giving him some good shots on Crawford, or could work against him because it'll put him in an odd spot because Crawford can hit you from awkward angles anyway. So I had that one more closer to a 50-50, depending on how soon from now, because we know Crawford is going to decline. After the fight, I kind of favor Crawford more to beat Boots than Spence because what Crawford does, and I'm an Errol Spence fan, everybody know that, but what Crawford does, Boots has shown now that he might have a lot of trouble with it. And then the fact that he's doing all that leaping, like you were talking about earlier, leaping in and spinning all the way around and stuff. You make a miss like that against Crawford, and it's a wrap. He gonna catch you with something nasty, and this night. You know, he gonna stun you, and then he one of the best finishers in boxing, right there with Deontay Wilder and Tank. Um, so I lean this one maybe 70-30 in favor of Crawford now that I've seen what I saw from Boots if he doesn't improve soon. Um, for Spence, 65-35 just because once I saw that Boots gets hit by people that shouldn't be hitting him, and he takes some flush shots and he exposes himself with those wild looping hooks and stuff. Um, Errol's going to exploit that. Oh, and another thing, he doesn't change the speed of his punches. So that means that guys like Spence, Crawford, and Thurman can time you better. And once Errol can time you, he gonna put you to sleep, or he gonna beat you up and get you up out of there.
I
Do
was just
you?
about to I was just about to say that because Karen timed him a few times.
Yeah. Like once a dude could time you coming in, like you've been in the ring, you already know. Like you get in there with somebody that just started like sparring or whatever, you already know. Like yeah, after a couple minutes, you know exactly where them punches coming from. You know what speed they coming at, and if they only got like a very limited punch selection, it's a wrap. Now I do think Boots has a pretty high punch selection. He'll throw a bunch of different stuff. It just all come at the same speed, hard as hell. So
Yeah, pretty much.
yeah, you know, I think that all of those things can be fixed, but he needs to get in there with like this was a step up fight apparently, and nobody thought it was, but this was a step up in competition. So now you put him in there with I think the next step up is a Thurman. I think the last one I want to throw at you is this one is building up to where they're probably going to fight for some belts. Boots and Virgil. What's your thoughts on that one? And then we'll close on that.
I think the fight is a competitive fight. I'm gonna go with 55-45 Boots right now.
Okay.
Because Virgil does get hit, and then out of that high guard, um, his vision is limited, and like you said earlier, Boots has a phenomenal punch selection.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he might be able to catch Virgil with some things. But if his power isn't able to do anything to Virgil, like I kind of think it isn't, because he hit Karen flush a few times. Like Karen was moving to take some of the power off of his shots, but a few times Boots would hit him flush, and Karen just shook it off and then started back bouncing around the ring. So
Yeah.
if he's not able to really hurt Virgil, I think he's in for a long night. Because Virgil's not gonna stop coming. He's gonna go to the body a lot, and Boots kind of showed some flaws in his IQ.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's kind of like Rashidi, unless the anxiety gets to him and he keeps bagging up into the corner, bagging up into the ropes, doesn't stay in the middle of the ring where he can use his advantages,
Mm-hmm.
I think Virgil might be able to track him down.
Yeah.
And then Virgil's a lot. He's more fleet-footed than people give him credit for, but
Really.
he is very flat-footed at the same time. If you kind of understand what I'm saying, like people over-exaggerate and say he's extremely flat-footed, he can't do nothing, but he's more athletic than people give him credit for.
I think I think I know exactly what you're saying. So he has some limitations in his lateral movement, but he can move laterally. It's kind of like Errol.
Mm-hmm. Or they can cut that. He can cut the ring off. Like he's gonna mirror your movements. You might be quicker than him and be able to get around and different things like that. But he's very good at cutting off the ring and keeping up constant pressure.
Yeah, for sure. I think I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, no, I do know exactly what you mean, and it's some of the same. The jacket they put on Errol, he's flat footed. No, he sits down on his punches and he'll stand in the pocket, but he can move laterally and he can make that ring smaller when he needs to. If he see you trying to get up out of there, he knows how to slow you down. It's just their attack is different. But from a footwork standpoint, yeah, I could see some similarities. So I know exactly what you're saying. They got the same jacket put on them that they're flat footed because they're not doing a bunch of dancing and hopping around creating angles. Like that's not necessary. Like even like just as an example, like with the way Frank Martin was pivoting, it was almost excessive with the way he was like hopping to step around Michelle's foot and all that stuff. It wasn't necessary to be that demonstrative, but it worked. I think other people have a more subtle version of doing that where it's just like a subtle step. You know who's good at it? Another southpaw, Shakur. You can't tell it, but Shakur don't really do a whole lot of moving around, but he's just very subtle and smooth with his footwork to where it's so subtle you don't notice it until you study it and you realize how effective it is. So, and I
A
think
lot of
that Virgil
small
could
half
fall into
steps.
that. Huh?
That's Shakur. A lot of small half steps, like he's gliding across the ring rather than
Yeah.
bouncing.
Super efficient. Yeah. For me, Virgil versus Boots, yeah, I'm 50-50. I think they both do enough things that are different than each other to where from a style standpoint, it will be a very interesting fight because they'll both engage. But I think they both will also try to move around and create some things. And I think Boots would do more to create control distance because he's not going to want to stand there and bang with Virgil for long. And I think Virgil would do a good job of keeping Boots from moving away from him too much. Like you said, being able to cut him off and keep him mostly in front of him. And every now and then he'll let him run around where he could take a chance, catch his breath, but then he'll get right back to trying to engage him. So I think that would be a really good fight. I think a more entertaining fight is Boots versus Rashidi. But I think just like an all out war where you could get one, like maybe two, like do a Ennis versus Ortiz 2. I think that one would be worth a replay. Like they will give you two really good fights. So I think we're gonna wrap it up there, man. I appreciate you tapping in. Like I said, I'm trying to get this live schedule together so we can get the following up. Um, but you know, I'm gonna have the video posted if you want to just go back and check it out. Let me know what you
But
thought of how it sounded and stuff. And I'm gonna catch up with you later on. Hey, to everybody out there listening, this has been the Mike Check Podcast live stream. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend, tell a friend. Till the next time we out. Peace.
peace.